Hi guys, so recently I saw a comment of someone on one of my YouTube videos and they're like they're struggling financially. They're 24 years old, they studied social sciences and they have been trying to look for a job and they can't find a job. What can they do? They are really broke, they just don't know what to do. And I saw this comment, I couldn't respond to the person at that moment because I felt like this is a very long response, and so I'm hoping that the person is actually going to be able to see this video and it's going to help all you people outside there. So if you're broke, you're struggling financially, and if you're young, then this should be very helpful for you, especially if you're young, because this guy is 24. He still has time on his side. That's the one advantage that he should really thank God for, that he has, that a lot of people don't have. If the same person was 34 years, or 34 is actually still quite young, but let's say 44 or 54 years old, then this entire story would be very different. But at 24, you still have a lot of things that you can change to completely flip your life around, and you don't actually need to be desperate. If you can actually just take a few steps and be very intentional about implementing them, your life can completely flip. And forget about flipping, you can actually become a millionaire and even a billionaire and become very rich. So in today's video, I'm going to share this with you, and I'm going to hope that it's going to be of great impact to you. First thing is cut down on your expenses. Yeah. So if you're in that position, you're really broke, you're a young guy, but you're really broke, you don't have money, you don't actually have money to spend on things. Yeah. A lot of times you'll actually find someone, they look up to you. I don't know what this guy was looking like or wearing when he wrote this comment, but a lot of times you'll find someone in a desperate situation. They're struggling, they are financially insecure, and they have like the latest iPhone, they have the most expensive phone, they have like cool shoes, very nice clothes, and you're like, what? You're actually looking for money, you're struggling financially, and you're going outside there splashing on like the top things. Yeah. You see, there are some things that would consider necessities, or the main expenses that people actually do have. Number one is accommodation, number two is food, number three is transport, and number four is entertainment. First of all, when it does come to accommodation, make sure that you are spending as little as possible on your accommodation. What I advise is that, if possible, go into shared accommodation. Yeah, so get a few friends. If you're a young guy, you're probably not staying with your parents. If you're staying with your parents, well and good. I mean, if your parents are letting you stay at their place, well and good. It's not something I would agree with or advise, because I feel like staying with your parents also puts you in a comfort zone where you feel like everything is available. When you come back, you find all the food that you need. When you're moving outside there, you just feel comfortable. You feel like you're living in a home, which in reality is confusion. Yeah, because in reality you're actually suffering, but you feel like you have all the comfort. So get out of your parents' home, go and live with a friend, go and live with a workmate. I mean, even if it's just a room, a single room, place 2 beds inside there, spend as little as possible on your accommodation. I personally, when I graduated as a doctor, I was earning, between $700 and $800, and I was sleeping in a house where I pay about $50 every month. You can imagine. Yeah, I kept my expenses as low as possible. Now you actually don't have a job, you don't have money. How about you go to a place, share it with someone, keep your expenses as low as possible. Second of all, food. So when it does come to food, we all know that the easiest way of saving money when it does come to food is actually by cooking for yourself. So I advise that you actually do cook for yourself, especially now that you're young. You have time on your side. If you consider and you see that the value of your time is actually much bigger than the expenses you're going to be saving on the food, then I would advise that you go and eat out at the cheapest place that you can eat. But most of the times, eating out is going to be way more expensive. Now, I, for example, at the point that I am, I can actually hire someone to cook for me food. I don't need to cook food myself. I can afford to hire people to cook for me food, or I can afford to go and eat out at literally anywhere, because I've reached that point. Yeah, and also the value of my time is quite high. For every hour that I spend cooking, I could actually be making a lot of money. So because of that, I would rather do the other options. But sometimes I prefer to cook because I honestly enjoy it. What's the point of making all the money in life if you're not enjoying yourself? So sometimes I do prefer to cook, but you don't have that luxury, you don't have that option, you don't have that alternative. If you can, cook as much as possible so that you can minimize the cost of your living. Number three is transport. So if you can keep that down as much as possible, so if you're in one of those places where a car is like really, really cheap, I mean, you can get a car for like $4,000, $5,000, then go for it. But in a lot of places and in most parts of the world, that $4,000, $5,000 is actually a very significant percentage of how much you'll be earning or saving. If you don't need to be moving for you to learn or work or do these things, or if you can save in terms of your movement, so that's using public transport, which in most places is cheaper. In most countries, public transport is going to be much cheaper. Then keep doing public transport. I personally didn't own a car until over 2 years into my working as a doctor. For the biggest percentage, I was using public transport. So yes, keep your transport costs down. And then number 4, entertainment. That should be down to 0 or almost 0. So maybe once a year you can go out and eat. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, once in a while. Don't buy yourself an expensive shirt. Don't buy yourself an expensive pair of shoes. You can always get these things later on. It's okay, I understand. It feels like you're suffering, you're taking yourself through a lot of pain, but just don't. Forget about it. And then at some point, you're going to be able to afford to do that. That's the whole point of this, isn't it? So then the second thing is utilize the skills you have to make money, or if you don't have skills, then build some skills. Now this person particularly said they did social sciences. Now honestly, I won't tell you that I actually understand what someone who studied social sciences at the university actually does, but I'm going to assume that you don't have too many skills. It's probably some political thing or some counseling or something like that. I honestly don't know, but that's not a very marketable skill in this day and age. So most probably you're going to have to develop a skill. I was a doctor and even I still had to develop some skills. So I'll give you an example of some of the skills that I developed and how I actually developed these skills. One of them was Spanish. Now, learning a language is actually a great skill that I am very grateful for, because it gave me a lot of opportunities. It actually gave me an opportunity that I would never have had. It gave me my very first opportunity to travel out of the country. And when I traveled out of the country, I got exposed to a lot of things and it completely flipped my mind. I believe it's the main reason as why I'm doing business. I'm not doing medicine, because by the time I traveled, I thought I was going to be doing medicine. But then when I traveled and saw all the opportunities and the way people think very differently, I changed my mind. I told myself I'm going to go back and start doing business in my country. Yeah, I'm not going to go outside there and look for a better country to practice medicine in. No. So it's because of the language and that exposure of learning a language that I was able to, move around. But in the years to come, language as a skill is not going to be very beneficial, because a lot of things that are coming up right now are, AI tools and, all these apps and things like that, which can literally translate language in real time. So right now, for me, for example, it's a very great skill, but in the future, it's not going to be very beneficial. But I'll give you the tips of how I actually learned Spanish as a language. It probably took me about 3 months maximum for me to actually be able to communicate in Spanish. I would say at an intermediate level. Just 3 months. And do you know what I did? During a holiday, a university holiday, so it was probably like a 1 month holiday or 1.5 month holiday. The only thing I did was eat and study Spanish. Forget about 4 hours a day. Forget about 5 hours a day. It was my whole day. So I would get up early in the morning, and then as soon as I get up early in the morning, I go on my phone, I downloaded these videos or tutorials, and then I downloaded these books which were PDFs, and then I'll just go start studying Spanish, study Spanish on the internet meanwhile, on YouTube, on just a few PDFs, and then practice it until 10 a.m. I was still staying at my dad's home. They would call me for breakfast. I go and get my breakfast, come and have it from my room while studying Spanish. They call me for lunch, I leave everything on the table, go have lunch, get back and study Spanish until about 7 p.m. So my entire day was me learning that skill, because what else did I have to do? Again, I had time, I didn't have a job, I wasn't employed, and that's again the position you're in. You don't have a job, you're not employed, you have time, then why not utilize the time to learn as much of the skill as possible? So after about a month and a half, I could actually read and write in a lot of Spanish. And after about 3 months, I was at a place where I was comfortable enough to literally be an intermediate in Spanish. So you need to give it your all. That's how you learn a skill. It's not about 1 hour a day. It's not about 2 hours a day. No, you've got to sacrifice. Give a lot of your time for you to learn. Now, this is a skill that I learned over a really short time. I also do have a skill that I learned over a longer time, probably 2, 3, 4 years, and that was graphic designing. So the reason I'm sharing this is because I want to show you the different ways in which you can actually learn skills. So this other skill, I started because I just was interested in graphic designing. I loved designing things. I loved, art. I loved all these things. So I told myself I'm going to try and do this myself. And so I would get a computer, I downloaded Photoshop, I downloaded all these apps, and I would try designing things. I would try designing this, try designing this. The idea is that for you to develop a skill and become good at it, you should have a drive. For me, for example, I had a drive to learn Spanish because I wanted to be able to sing in Spanish. I played the guitar and I'd learned a few Spanish tunes, so I wanted to be able to sing in Spanish. That was my drive. For graphic designing, it's because I wanted to design things and be able to sell them, because when I was at the university, I would design, posters, stickers, and all these kinds of things to be able to sell them. So get some form of drive. So maybe it's posting on social media. Maybe, you get someone and tell them I'll handle your social media page or something like that. Just give me the job. Of course, that's after getting a few skills. Then what happens is that every time I would encounter something, probably I see a calendar, maybe see a sticker, maybe see a poster, and there's something nothing unique about it that I don't know how to. I'll just go to YouTube, search how to do it, and then just like that, I introduce it into my work, and just like that, I just became better. So over a while, maybe 2-3 years, I actually became really good with graphic designing just by making sure that I'm consistently getting better at the skills. So you've got to learn the skills. If you don't have the skills, look for the skill, practice the skill as often as possible. You've got to be intense. And like I've said, it's not a hobby. You're not doing it from home just to enjoy or whatsoever. You've got to be very, very intense for you to become really good at this skill, and with time, it's going to pay off. So step number 3 is get paid for the skills you have. Now this does sound easy, but it's actually not easy. Getting outside there and actually getting people to pay you for what you know is not easy, because first of all, people are not going to want to hire beginners. Second of all, most people, when they are stepping outside there and they want to get hired, they just don't know how to present themselves as a hireable person. I get a lot of people who come and face me and they're like, hey, Dr. Daniel, I can do this. Can you hire me to do this for you? I'm like, I mean, I already have people doing that, but even if I needed someone, how do I just find a random person? How do I know that you're good or not good? How do I not waste my time trying just to get you on and then to notice that you don't know or you can't do what you're talking about? Yeah. So you have to be very intentional. I personally do remember when I was applying for my medical job as a doctor, I went for an interview in a particular place. And once we reached this interview area, of course, I had done all my homework, I had rehearsed and everything. Then I get into this place, and then I find this group of guys, they're also doctors, they had also come for an interview at the same place. And then they were talking outside just before the interview, having conversations between themselves. And one of them was telling the other, and he was like, I've actually had so many interviews, it was like over the past few months, I've done so many interviews that I don't prepare for interviews anymore. He's like, I don't waste my time preparing for interviews. I mean, if I get called for an interview, I'll just come. If we go through, we go through. If we don't go through, well and good. I kept telling myself, there's no way this guy is going to get this job. It's impossible, because with such a mentality, without preparation, with such a mentality of I'll just go in, it's understandable why he's not getting the jobs. And there's just no way he's going to be getting this job, because there's no way anyone is going to choose him over me, you understand? And so, of course, that did happen. So for you to get a job, you actually have to be very intentional. So then, now that you've got skills, how do you make yourself hireable? How do you actually get a job? First thing, make proper applications. The other time I was looking at someone, I think they posted on X, and they were telling me, they had posted that they sent out 50 applications that day. I was thinking in my head, how possible is it for you to actually send out 50 proper applications a day? Now, I understand that intensity or the number of applications is really important, but how can you send out 50 proper applications a day? I see it a lot of times where people actually do apply to jobs. They send me applications and I check them out, and the applications are really hopeless. I can't even consider it, because it's where the same application that the person has sent to like 5 or 6 different people. They haven't tailored it completely to the kind of job that they're applying to and all those kinds of things. Those are things that are going to screen you out. So first of all, understand how to do the application process. Make sure that you're very intentional. If you're applying for this kind of job, actually be exact, be intentional, do some research about the organization, the people that you're applying to, the kind of skills that they would want and whatsoever, so that as soon as someone reads through that application, people actually don't have time to read through application. But as soon as someone goes through it, they're just skimming through it, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, they can tell that you're someone who has intent and that you're someone who actually wants a job. So there's a lot of YouTube videos about such stuff. You can just go check it out. I don't need to talk about it here. You can go check it out and you'll understand how to do it. Now, after you've actually understood how to do an application, then you need to go to the second step, which is step number 2, which is apply to as many places as possible. I do remember that when I was applying for my job as a doctor, I took applications to any place that I can take applications to. I probably took my application to like 30 or 40 places. But of all the places, I only got like 5 people get back to me for interviews. And when I did the interviews, I got 4 of the job. 4 of the 5 places I did interviews at, I actually was offered the job. So you need to make sure that you apply to as many places as possible. So if you're thinking about that, it was 5 out of 40. That's a small percentage. It's not a half, it's not a quarter. It's an eighth of the places I applied to, and honestly, I still think that's good enough. That's really good. For most places or most people, you're going to apply to a lot of places, and you're even going to get called back less than an eighth of the places you apply to. So you don't want to leave the chances up to luck. I could apply to one place and I'll get the call, and I will call it lucky, but you want to minimize the chances that you're lucky, and that's just by sending out as many applications as possible. Once you do that, then the next thing is make sure that as you're sending out applications, you are preparing for interviews. And I believe this is the one thing that I have said, made or separated me from the other guy, the other doctor. It's that I was preparing myself for the application. So watch YouTube videos. There's a lot of guys, because I personally spent hours, not just an hour, but hours watching YouTube videos about how to prepare for an interview, how to get ready for an interview. And when I got inside that interview room. At the end, they asked me what if I have any question. The question I asked was, what kind of person would you think would be ideal for this kind of job? And you know what the HR told me? Someone like you. So I stepped out of that room knowing that I've got the job. I mean, for that particular interview where I was standing next to that guy, the other guy who wasn't prepared. Yeah, I stepped out of that room when I knew I had actually gotten the job. 100% certain, because I had prepared myself. So just go watch YouTube videos, understand, recite. I rehearsed in front of a mirror, because again, most of interview questions are the same and it's all about impression. So I rehearsed in front of a mirror very many times and got really, really good at it. And I ended up getting the job. This guy, he was leaving it up to luck. Don't leave things up to luck. Put as much of it in your control as possible. And then finally, number 4, now that you're getting paid for the skills that you have, make sure that you improve and get better at your job, at these skills each and every day. What's the goal? The goal is that number 1, you can be more hireable or be more likely that you're going to get a place with a better amount of pay. But number 2, that you're going to get a promotion and be able to maybe start your own business later on in the future. So your goal, it doesn't matter where you are, is to ensure that you're improving. A lot of people, when they do get into jobs, when they do get paid and all these things, then they become comfortable. They're like, oh, I'm earning $1,000, $2,000 a month, $5,000 a month. I'm good. I don't need anything else. No, it's about consistent improvement. I personally do remember that even when I was leaving my place of work, when I was resigning as a doctor, they were begging me to stay. They sent me an email. My boss called me and he was like, why are you leaving? He will give you a transfer so that you're seated, you're close to your business so that you can supervise it better and all these kinds of things. Because I was someone good. I was someone that they wanted to stay. You want to be that kind of person. That kind of person is more hireable. That kind of person is more likely to get a higher increment in terms of, pay. That kind of person is more likely to set up their own business because they are passionate about working, they are result oriented, they're going to get proper results. That person is more likely to just be in a better financial state. So your goal should be to aim to be better and better. Your goal should never be to be stagnant, to just stand there and look. No, your goal should be to get better, keep getting better. That's how you're actually going to build wealth. So that's how you're going to come from being broke to actually being financially secure and maybe being a millionaire or even a billionaire in just a few years. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye-bye.